Esselamu Aleyküm ve Rahmetullah. Euzu billahi mineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve hlul ukdeten min lisani yefkahu kavli ve cealli veziran min ehli Harun ahi ustud bihi ezri ve eşrikhu fi emri key nusebbihake kesira ve nezkurake kesira inneke kunte bina basira. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين. Last week we have studied the importance of understanding the prophetic stories within the context of the story. That's one thing. And within the context of the life of the prophet, that is another aspect of it, where this story was located in the life of the prophet and how this story was related to the mission that the prophet was carrying or introducing to the people. And finally, and most importantly, how I can relate the content of this story within my own life. We extensively talked about it. Now we will come to verse 7. Let me see. Yeah, Baqarah, chapter Baqarah 67. We said that was the beginning or the early stages of the Prophet's life in Medina, where a social life, the principles of social life were to be established so that people's belief in God, in the hereafter, and in the message and the messenger must be practiced in terms of physical life of this world. Let me see. Okay, alaykum salam, Sumaya. So here we said it is a practice directly related to the life of the people in the story, which are, by definition, they are called the children of Israel. We said we should not attribute this title to a certain race of the people. We said children of Israel in this story represents the followers of a prophet, be it Moses or Aaron or Muhammad alayhi salam. So it is not really related to a race, but we call it in Islamic tradition an ummah who believed in the prophet as employed by God and the message he was bringing from God. They were satisfied about it, although they have not been educated and convinced about the content of the message. How do we understand this? Moses left the ummah, let's call it ummah community, believing community or believers community, and he was busy with his ubudiyah, worship of God in his private life, personal life, and left Aaron, again, as a prophet, in charge of the affairs of the community, because this community were not familiar with the miraculous actions, miraculous demonstrations of Aaron. They did not take notice of him, although Moses required them or asked them to follow Aaron on his absence. That is, we said, extremely important to pay attention to, because we may be also in the same position. We may admire Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam as believers in the Quran, that he is appointed by God. He demonstrated a lot of miracles in his life, and the people really respected him. He was an honest man, etc. But we may not have enough education in the content of the message. Admiration of the qualities, personal qualities of the prophet does not qualify the follower to be convinced about the content of the message. That is, to me, the most important matter for us. We may claim to be Muslims. We may claim that the Quran, I respect the Quran and I believe in it, but I may not have enough education in the content of the Quran, what the Quran really teaches. That is very important and essential for every one of us, for me, for you personally. We have to be careful about this matter. In the following verses, in the chapter, surah, or section of the Quran, Baqarah, in the section of the Quran, 67, verse 67 says, بسم الله الرحمن أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذ قال موسى لقومه إن الله يأمركم أن تذبحوا بقرة قالوا أتتخذنا هزوا قال أعوذ بالله أن أكون من الجاهلين. Or remember, or when Musa said to his people, his followers, Allah, God, is commanding you, requiring you to slaughter a cow. That is important. To sacrifice, to slaughter a cow. They said, are you just really making a fun of us? What does it mean, slaughtering a cow? What does it mean? And Musa seriously responded back, I seek refuge with Allah that I will be one of the ignorant people. Oh, it is impossible. Whatever Allah says, God says, I just convey it to you. That is it. It is not my personal idea. I'm not making it up. You know that I act in the name of God, on behalf of the commands of God or messages of God. You know that until now, because they have experienced in their own life. Maybe if this event took for the second generation, the first generation from Egypt, they witnessed Moses' miracles. We extensively studied these miracles, how he defeated the magicians and how he went through the sea or the river, huge river, how the followers of Moses passed the river safely with this staff, just striking this staff of Moses to the sea. That was a miracle. It took place in front of the eyes of everyone there. And after they passed, and water or the huge river or the sea, doesn't matter, closed down, and the army of Pharaoh were drawn. It was so obvious. So they experienced also whatever they wanted from God to provide their food. It was provided in a miraculous way in the desert. We said this 40 years or certain number of years, doesn't matter, it should be 40, 35, 20, 50. These are not our concern. For a long time, they had to go through training. It means they had to assimilate the message into their personal and social life. That was the purpose of the education or training of the messenger together with them. So during this period, one day, Moses said, okay, God wants you to, or orders you to slaughter a cow. But as the Quran expresses how, in the verse, if you are interested in, I can tell you the verse number. Excuse me. Okay. This verse in the Quran, ayah number, Baqarah, I think I made a mistake. 932, not Baqarah. No, I'm confusing something. Okay. So, the verse said, let me read it because it is so small. وَاشْرَبُوا فِي قُلُوبِهِمُ الْعِجْلَ بِكُفْرِهِمْ. They were soaked. Yeah. وَاشْرِبُوا فِي قُلُوبِهِمُ الْعِجْلَ بِكُفْرِهِمْ. Of course, it was wrong. It didn't make sense. So they were soaked with love for the calf in their hearts. We know that. We discussed this again while we were talking about the story, how the story related to the content of the Prophet Moses' life and his people, followers. They were farmers and working in Egypt around Nile, the river Nile Delta. So they were using cows and oxes, and they really loved it, and they were very fond of baby cows, baby oxes. Why? Because they were going to grow, and they will be a means of their provisions. We talked about it a lot, so I am not going into details here. So they thought, apparently, calf or cow or ox, doesn't matter. It is the kind of animal that they used for their farming. So it was so very important for them very important, because they thought because of the help of cow, they are cultivating the land, tilling the land, or carrying the products, because that animal is employed for them, but they didn't think who employed this animal to them. They didn't think who is creating the harvest, grains, or other produce. They didn't think about it. That is why God tested them with their weak point. Slaughter a cow. Well, we discussed also that cow represents what? Our in our eyes, we said this, do you remember this title? Do we have a cow to slaughter as well? So this is our concern now. What is our cow? Our profession, our means of income, provision. Maybe my father, maybe my cow, maybe my job is a cow for me. Maybe my family support is a cow for me. I have to think. Maybe my fame, my clothes, the way I dress, maybe my degree, maybe my profession, that I'm an expert on certain subjects, maybe my government position, I am a political leader, etc., financial advisor, whatever. Because of this, I am receiving my provision. So they thought cows, because of cows, they were really receiving their provision. Although they believe the universe is created by God, they are created by God, but this belief was not, or this belief has not penetrated into their understanding. We can call it, for example, nowadays, people believe as their cow, nature, natural laws. Nature provides their provision. That is their cow. God, we have to be very careful. God says, slaughter the cow because it is the very sensitive point for them. It doesn't mean slaughter all cows. It never means don't do your profession, don't practice your profession, don't do your business, don't have anything to do with this world, don't till the earth. No, slaughter a cow. That is the way of training how to obey the order in our sensitive points. For example, I am an engineer. I'm not, but example. Or you are an engineer. I know there are people here who are engineers. Sumay is an engineer. Very successful engineer, by the way. I know her. So he's an engineer. She's an engineer. Or I am an engineer. Okay. Slaughter a cow means God asks me to slaughter the idea, the concept, the understanding that my provision, my profession is providing my provision. Slaughter this idea that the prophetic message is giving an example, slaughtering one cow. Be careful, those who are a little bit familiar with Arabic language, the command of God or the will of God, Inna Allah ya'murukum, God orders you, and tadbahu, all of you, baqaratan, only one cow, as a representative of their ideologies. For example, nowadays, we say that the people speak about natural laws, speak about the things living beings develop by themselves. Or they give many examples of it. Look, the earth is revolving on its own by itself. The sun is rotating by itself. The atoms and the electrons around the atoms are naturally developed in this way by themselves. Now, slaughter a cow. What is that? They cannot do it by themselves. They are ordered. They are created. They are arranged in this way. Just slaughter this idea of by themselves. So simple. They say, what? If they accept that all the things are happening in the world, coming into existence to establishing an order, and as a result of this order, all the provisions or human entertainments became possible, all of them by themselves. They say, what? If they are not happening by themselves, all of them not happening by themselves, then what do we have to do? It is so important now. And then who is doing them? If it is not by themselves, it is not naturally happening by itself. They have to look for an agent. Isn't that interesting? One cow needs to be slaughtered. This idea must be abandoned because it has no power. It has no reality. Nothing can produce any quality of itself by itself. It is illogical. We very frequently study this matter. It is illogical to do something by itself. In order to be able to have this quality, I have to exist with this quality to do that. And if I don't have this quality, how can I act? For example, if I didn't have, if I wasn't given the quality of free will, how can I choose my own existence by myself? Because I don't have free will. The question is, how human free will, how human power came into existence. And you say, no, it is not by itself, cannot be. It must be given by some other agent, creator, source of existence. One cow needs to be created. Naturalism, nature as existing by itself, must be slaughtered in the 20th century. Now, how about the people around Prophet Muhammad, who was the messenger of God, who was training the society now in Medina during the second to fourth years of Medina life? This chapter is scattered around 2-3 years in early Medinian life. So they were also taught that they should slaughter whatever they are attaching any kind of power to, so that everything must belong to God. It means they have to establish the belief of God in their life. For example, they are entertaining the produce of an orchard. In Medina, they were farmers, plant farmers, not animal farming. Meccan people were animal farming. Doesn't matter, but farmers. Now, not the orchard is giving them their provisions, but God is creating them. They are just employed by God, as the cows are employed by God, as my profession is employed by God, as my money or financial power is employed by my God, created by my God, the creator of the universe. One cow needs to be slaughtered. And they said, you must be joking. What are you talking about? How can we, why should we slaughter the cow? Because I refer to the verse that they were sunk, or let me read the translation of the word or original language. This is very important. وَإِشْرِبُوا فِي قُلُوبِهِمُ الْعِجْلَ بِكُفْرِهِمْ, because they were not educated in belief properly yet. So because of their denial of God's interference into their personal life, God's presence in the growth of the plant, it is God who's creating it. It is not happening by itself. This idea, they were just soaked with this idea. It means the universe may be created by God. It's okay. I can give the existence of the universe to the creator as an initiator of the creator. But how about the production? The produce, the fruits or whatever, vegetables, I pick up from the plants. Of course, tree is producing it. Although the universe is created by God, they did not see any contradiction in their general assumption of the creatorship of God, rather than applying this belief into every individual action which is coming into existence by the will and the preference choice of God. That was lacking. That is why they couldn't believe that the prophet Moses is asking them to slaughter as God ordered them. They were being trained in their social life that belief in God is necessary but not sufficient. I believe in God. Well done. Perfect. Is it sufficient? No. You have to educate, train yourself to obey God in every action that you perform in the world. Obedience of God. So submission to God's will was the next step now. In Mecca, belief in God was firmly established. Now, when it comes to social life, obedience of God's will, God's order was to be trained. God says, slaughter, physically slaughter the cow. It means really, for example, practically say that not this job is giving me the fruit, not this tree is giving me the fruit. For example, I have an orchard and there are 200 trees there. Don't turn the trees into an idol. Symbolically, you will be ready to slaughter one or to cut one tree down to say that it is not you who you are feeding me, providing me with my provision. Now, that is why physically we have to do something. For example, I know that I have to take care of the poor people. Okay. Physically, you have to give the money. I know that I'm very, very humble before God. God is the supreme being. I am just nothing. Okay. Physically, put your head on the floor, presenting that I am nothing. Physically, do it. So for the sacrifice, which is very close, I think maybe no less than 15 days or 2 weeks are left for the day of sacrifice, Eid Adha. So in this, okay, I know all animals are created by God. Okay, slaughter one. Slaughter. Why? No, it is not the animal who is giving me the provision. God is giving me. God says, slaughter it when har. Yeah. So I have to slaughter it. One cow, one sheep. Out of, for example, if I am an animal farmer, let's say I have 1,000 sheep. Example. Once a year, I have to practice it physically by slaughtering one sheep. that is obedience. Physically practicing whatever God orders us, not killing all sheep, it's not the point. Just demonstrating that this sheep is not an idol for me so that I cannot touch it. No, I can touch it. I can slaughter it. That is why physically I have to practice it. Physically, I have to obey the order of my God in this world. That is why rituals are extremely important. Physically, once a year, once in a lifetime, you have to go and visit the heritage of the Abrahamic tradition in Mecca. It means Tawheed, represented in Kaaba. You have to go and pay due respect to this representation once in a life, not every day all your life, once in a life. That is why that is extremely important. And تذبحوا بقرة, to slaughter one single cow. What the people did, they couldn't understand. Why should I slaughter it? Because they were not trained in obedience of God. They were not ready to obey God's command in physical terms as well as understanding. Physically do it, because we have spirit, all right, we have intelligence, fine, we have feelings, of course, we have body too. Physically, for example, do you clean your spirit? You have to do it ideologically. Do you clean your intelligence? You have to do it by training logical thinking. Do you clean your body? Physically wash it. That is the representation or the meaning of ablution, which is called wudu in Arabic. Physically do it, your body. But you don't have to wash your whole body symbolically. Wash your, God says, wash your arm, wash your face, and just wipe your head. And depends on how you read the words, but I believe wash your feet as well, because of the pronoun there is so clear, it goes to the washing, not messing, or how do you call in Arabic, mess. I don't know what is wiping, sorry, in English, just wiping. But that doesn't matter, but do it physically, do something. Physically. That is why physically, for example, during Ramadan, instead of eating 3 meals a day, in recognition of the order of God, for 1 month, eat 2 meals a day. That's it. Once a year, 1 month, 29 usually days, 29 days, and not 3 meals, but 2 meals. Early morning and sunset dinner. Is it difficult? No, it shouldn't be. But if someone is ill and suffering from something, difficulties, that is different. They are excused. But normal life conditions, we have to physically stop eating 3 meals, but 2 only. Why? Because we are trained to obey God's order, physically as well. But intellectually, it's easy. You say, I believe in God. Yeah. No, He is my, I worship God, nobody else. Well, it is easy to say. But practice, when it comes to practice, most of the Muslim people, or for example, Christians, totally abandoned physical practice. Jews were immersed into physical practice. So Islam says no, once a year and once a time, and one sheep out of 1,000, just one, and don't get immersed by it. Totally lose yourself in physical practice, but forget about the sense of obedience and also conscious awareness of the content of the teaching and your understanding of life, your understanding of existence, your understanding of the life to come hereafter, your understanding of God's speech, why God should speak, etc., etc. These are belief matters. Now, what happened? Prophet Moses said, قالوا أعوذ بالله أن أكون من الجاهلين. Come on, I seek refuge. The translation said here on the screen, God forbid that I should be so ignorant. I mean, forget about God's command or speak on behalf of God, although God didn't say anything. It is incredible, impossible to do that. I am God-conscious being, a God-conscious being. So they said, look at this now. We may do the same. Huh? Please ask your God. Go and ask your God which kind of cow it should be. God must make it clear about it. Explain it, make it plain, make it clear, make it, give the details. Why? قال إنه يقول, the prophet said, إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا فارض ولا بكر عوان بين ذلك فافعلوا ما تؤمرون. Look at this. Now she's a kind of cow. It is not very old, not very young, no, in the middle age, somewhere in between. But what is important? فافعلوا ما تؤمرون. Come on. فافعلوا, come on. I mean, now it is translated here. It means fa in this context means, come on, hurry up. Do whatever you are asked to do, whatever you are told, you are ordered. Come on, do it, come on, slaughter one cow, man, whatever it is. Slaughter it. But they don't want to do it because they are not satisfied. They haven't been through education, necessary education, in order to be ready to submit to the order of God. It means this subject is extremely important for me. It makes it so clear between the difference between belief and submission to God's order in physical form. Most of the people nowadays, they don't appreciate the value nowadays. Believing people, Christianity totally abandoned it. They are suffering from the lack of obedience of God's order, practical obedience, because we are in this world. For example, your mom is always preparing everything for you. Cleaning your room, doing your laundry, preparing the food, ironing your clothes to go to school, everything, whatever is needed. Your father is struggling every day, at least 10 hours a day, working for you to provide the provisions as the means of course, not the creator, but bringing. They call it breadwinners, not bread creators, of course. No, breadwinners, they are really taking care of family needs. one day your mother asks you, for example, let me use my name, Ali, can you please take the trash today and throw it into the the bin today, trash bin? I say, Mom, I love you. You do everything for me. Yeah, okay. Can you do this? Oh, Mom, come on. Do I have to show physically that I love you? No, my heart is clean. Come on. I know you are a wonderful mother. Yeah, okay, but take this one. Come on, it's just an action. Everyone can do it. It is not important. Do you understand? This claim of love for the mother is false. Isn't that clear? To me, it is clear. If you love, as soon as you hear your mom saying that, look, Ali, come here. Yeah, please help me. Well, take this trash bag and throw it in the trash can. I say, no, my heart, really, I love you, my mom. Come on, this action is nothing. Come on. Why should I be showing as if I am a hypocrite? It means physically showing your love for your mother. It, in the conditions of this word, is essential. Physical practice of the rituals is extremely important. No, don't look for reasoning wisdom. Don't look for wisdom. You may find it, you may not find it. For example, what is the point in not eating one meal a day? We say, but listen, I don't think it's a legitimate explanation to me, because we say we cannot really experience how the hunger inflicts the poor people. So when we are hungry, we know that how the poor people are suffering. Excuse me, sir, this is not the reason for me to fast. Impossible. During winter, I eat perfectly very strong sahur, early morning dawn dinner, and just 8 hours later, it is time for my evening dinner. I don't feel any hungry at all. Still, I have to do it. The wisdom in the practical, physical practice of the rituals, God's commands, may be appropriate, may not be appropriate. There may be a reason. I may understand it, I may not understand it. Regardless, what the verse says, the second 68, verse 68, the last phrase, فَافْعَلُوا مَا تُؤْمَرُونَ. Immediately, come on, do it whatever you are ordered. Obedient, obeying God's order. Physical practice is the heart of our worldly life. Physical practice, never ever forget this. Don't look for an excuse. Here the people are trying to find an excuse not to do it. It is the example of it. Don't say those children of Israel, so heinous people they were. No, it is you and me. It is you and me. Don't cheat. We should not cheat ourselves. These verses are read by us. Maybe I don't think the children of Israel, those special race, we call them Jews, are reading these verses. the verse speaks to everyone, of course, but we are more closely engaged with this verse. Then God is speaking to the readers of the Quran, listeners of the Quran, you and me. He says, فَفْعَلُوا مَا تُؤْمَرُونَ, to me. Come on, Ali, do it now. It is, for example, in the area where I am now, it is time for Asr prayer. Is it? Yeah, it is. Now, Asr prayer, a late afternoon prayer. Okay. God says, do it before sunrise. What? Stand up, physical action, and bow down and recite certain sentences, verses from my speech, and prostrate and sit and stand up again. Like exactly your mother is asking you, come on, take this garbage bag and throw it into the garbage can. Oh God, oh my God. Okay, there are some things written in chat box. Let me say, Momina says, Assalamu alaikum. I have a class at 5:40, so I have to leave. All right, most welcome, of course. Shahrani Fani, if you was to understand the poor, why do poor people fast? They are supposed to fast as well. Shahrani family, you are always fun. I was speaking to my daughter Asma today on the phone. I said, Shahrani family really makes wonderful comments, points, and makes the discussion very lively. Thank you. Poor people also have to fast. Zabar Rizvi says, claim needs action. Yeah, that is why God always follows in the Quran. Amilu salihat. Yes. Alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat. Yes. Of course, the physical action. This is obedience. Thank you very much for your wonderful comments and explanations and clarifications. Thank you. So this is فَافْعَلُوا مَا تُؤْمَرُونَ. Please, if it is your habit to put some frames on your wall, put this verse, فَافْعَلُوا مَا تُؤْمَرُونَ. Because of the problem, the disease of this century is, I am spiritual. My heart is clean. I believe in God. God is so generous. I love God. I love him. Okay, show me your love. I want to show God your love in your physical life as well, because God created you in this world, not only as in the form of a spirit, but also in physical form. Come on, do it. Show it in physical form. God, for example, gave you mind, you have to think. Gave you stomach, you have to eat, right? Gave you lungs, you have to breathe, exhale and inhale. God gave you physical needs, you have to do it. How about performing the worship, obedience of God, submission to God in physical forms as well? Why not? Of course, we understand the reason there perfectly, that we are here to physically express, if I love, I have to show my love physically. For example, if I come to you and saying that with that frowning face, angry looking, furious eyes, like emitting fire, and saying that I love you. What does it mean? I'm going to kill you. Physical expression matters more in this world. And also guarantees that in my heart, my claim to believe is not only a false claim. It is a real claim. That's why during the life of the prophetic mission in Medina, those people who were not really believing what the message that the Prophet Muhammad brought, but they found it beneficial for them to identify themselves with the community, Muslim community in Medina, which was rapidly flourishing, becoming more and more prosperous because it was enlarging as gaining the support of the neighboring tribes. So it became a center of economy of the area. And of course, business flourished and the people were becoming more and more prosperous and better living conditions. So they saw the benefit in becoming a member of the community, maybe in a Muslim community. If you are doing a business and selling something that the Muslims consume most, what do? You put Islamic signs on your store house, writing something in Islamic term, Assalamu alaikum, ar-rizqu ala Allah, this kind of things. You can write, or Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, to show that you are Muslim. Maybe sincere, maybe to attract the attention of the customers, clients. Depends how serious you are. Physically, the Prophet asked them, do what I ask you to do. Because God ordered me, as the Prophet Moses says, God said, slaughter a cow and do it now, as you are ordered physically. Slaughter a cow, one cow, any cow, it's a Baqarah, any cow. But they wanted, they were not ready to submit and obey God's command, because God was far away for them. Creator of the universe, God, is not in your practical life. They started looking for excuses, all right. They're saying that, which kind of God we are going to slaughter? Is it really necessary? This kind of things. Let's see what else they say. Look at this ridiculous excuse now. Please, excuse me. So I forgotten to turn my video on. Okay, let me see. Yep. Okay, I closed that section. I didn't know it was on. All right. So please ask your God, Udu lana, call on your God, Rab. He must explain it, make it clear for us, explain it, what color it should be. Look at this. The more you try to find an excuse not to practice what God asks you, it becomes more and more difficult for you. For example, God says, pray now. In the morning, before sunrise, wake up and perform 2 rakat prayer. Just 2 rakat. You can make it 4 because sunnah, that's something else. But God asks 2 rakat. Okay, 2 rakat. What are you going to do? Read Fatiha, which takes, I don't know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and read a few sentences from the Quran. Takes another 20 minutes, 20 seconds, not minute, sorry, second. And bowing, prostrating, again doing it all together. That's 3 minutes minimum I'm talking about. Some people pray, super prayer, 1 hour. Yeah, I understand. Depending on your pleasure, taking pleasure in prayer. But I'm talking about the minimum requirements. Let's say it's 5 minutes. If you say, does my God ask me to wake up before sunrise and perform worship, physical worship, for 5 minutes? I have to do it then. It becomes so easy. But if you say, how many minutes before sunrise? Is it before twilight or after twilight? Is it really 2 rakah? What am I going to read? Some verses, some pieces from the Quran. How much? 1 page, 1 sentence, long, short? It means it becomes heavier, heavier, heavier to obey the order. That is exactly what the Quran is describing as far as the example of the children of Israel's excuses not to obey God's order. What is the color? What are you going to do? What the hell talking about color, man? A cow, finish. Any cow. With Baqarah, those people who know Arabic, come on, help me. You're, as a native Arabic speakers, Baqarah 10 means any cow, whatever it is, what color it is, what age it is, or it's a fat one, or thin one, or skinny one, doesn't matter. One cow, slaughter it. They don't want to practice. They don't want to give up the idea that nature in this age, nature has a share. Natural development has a share in our providing our provisions. Sun has a share in giving light to me. Moon has a share in arranging the night light for me. And just not to give up the idea. Looking, why do you think, do I have to leave all my job now? Who said you have to leave all your job? Just leave this idea that your job is providing provision for you. God is providing provision for you. Your job is just a means, nothing else. It is just a part of the order of this universe. God arranged this universe in this way. That's nothing more than this. But everything is taken care of by God. Your money doesn't feed you. The food you buy with your money feeds you, and this food is created by God, not by your money. Money doesn't create the food. Food is created by God, and it is digested within your body. It is not the food that you eat is really sustaining your life. God is order in the digestive system and the distribution of the vitamins, proteins, whatever is needed for the body, arranged by God. Food has no power to do that. These are all means. Come on, leave them aside. We say, oh, no, don't we eat? Aren't we going to eat at all? Aren't we going to do farming, cultivation? Who said that? Kill this idea. Slaughter this idea that the causes have effect. Slaughter this idea. Causes have any power on anything. Slaughter this idea. If we are not happy with it, What we do, we start making excuses. What shall I do now? Nowadays, life is very expensive. You know that in the society, if you don't wear in this way, if you don't follow the fashion, you are discarded and down, I would say, looked at. The people don't respect you, etc. Don't make excuses. God said, wear in this way, wear in this way. That's it. So God, okay, the prophet is very patient. إنه يقول, God says that إنها بقرة صفراء فاقعة لونها تسر الناظرين. Look, it is becoming more and more difficult, more and more difficult. And then the prophet answered that God says she is a bright yellow cow, pleasing to those who see her. But the initial of the command was what? A cow. Now yellow cow, yellow color, bright yellow, and pleasing to those who see her. They said, قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما هي إن البقرة تشابه علينا. All the cows look like each other. Come on. إنا إن شاء الله لمهتدون. So call on your Lord for us that he would plain us, or that he would explain us what she is to be like. For to us all cows resemble one another. And then if God so wills, he will surely be guided. Now, if God wills, we will be guided. Not if I will obey the order. Look at the excuses. Do you see? The more we ask about the details in fiqh matters, the more it becomes difficult for us to practice. That is what I understood from this dialogue between the children or the believing people, followers of the prophet, and the prophet. The relationship presented the scenario here for me tells me the more you pay attention to details, the more difficult it becomes for us to practice. Now, let's go with this one. Okay. قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا ذلول تثير الأرض ولا تسقي الحرث. Look how these details are becoming. مسلمة لا شبيهة فيها. قالوا الآن جئت بالحق فذبحوها وما كادوا يفعلون. He replied, it is a perfect and unblemished cow, not trained to till the earth or water the fields. It means it is not used for farming. They said, now you have brought the children, because they didn't have more to ask. And so they slaughtered it, though they almost failed to do so. Now, this is the end of the story of Moses in the Quran. Not all, but the most essential ones that I have selected. Alhamdulillah, we understand that the time is late. We understand that if we are so meticulous, how do you say, hair splitting about the fiqh matters, it becomes so difficult to perform, and at the end we find ourselves almost not performing it. That is the lesson. Obedience, the first lesson is belief is different from submission, obedience. Obedience requires physical practice. Physical practice requires not to be so detailed, questioning about the details of the fiqh matters in general. What they said? God says slaughter a cow, or God says perform 4 rekat, 2 rekat before sunset. Okay, before sunrise. Sorry. Okay, don't be so meticulous about it. Just go before sunrise, as I have to perform 2 rakah, how the Prophet did it, how it is narrated to me. In general, whatever you have learned from the Muslim community, do it. Don't go into details. How can I shoot my head, keep my head, keep my foot and my my trousers hems, how high it is, how low it's. Come on, man. Come on. Do it straight away. As you see it, as the community around you are doing it, do it. That's it. Slaughter and تذبحوا بقرة. Slaughter a baqarah. But if a cow, it means obey it immediately. Yes, at the end, they couldn't oppose the Prophet Moses because they knew that he was appointed by God. He was a special person. They had no excuse to ask further and further detailed questions. They did it, but وَمَا كَادُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. Almost they wouldn't do it, failed to do it, almost. It became so difficult for them to do it. That is what I understood from these verses. Inshallah, we will start another story next time. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, next Wednesday. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is the end of as far as my preparations show, this is the end of the story of Moses in the Quran. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة سر سورة الفاتحة.